Every patch in Wuthering Waves keeps introducing stronger and stronger characters, but have you ever stopped and asked yourself, who is actually the best DPS for each attribute right now? Not the most hyped, not the newest, not the one with the flashiest animations, but the one who truly delivers the most value in real endgame content. In this video, I'm going to rank the best DPS for every single attribute in the game, based purely on performance, flexibility, team options, and overall efficiency. Disclaimer, this is 100% my personal evaluation and opinion, so you guys are free to disagree. Before we start, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe button. Now if you have done that, let's get started. The first attribute that we are going to talk about is Glacio. Why is it so special? To me, we don't have any more limited units released since Carlotta, and she was first making her debut on the 2nd of January 2025. This indirectly saying that Carlotta is the best Glacio DPS up until now, am I right? Carlotta is a 5-star Glacio pistol user built around unleashing devastating damage through her liberation that is counted as resonance skill damage, all while maintaining a safe distance from the battlefield. She functions as a true hyper carry DPS, boasting explosive damage potential but demanding significant on-field time to fully shine. To maximize her output, she thrives in teams that can fully stack buffs onto her right before she begins her main damage rotation. Carlotta is also the only limited gun DPS right now that literally played in range mode. Unlike Galbrina, who is also a gun user, but it turned out most of her damage percentage is resulted from her wings or melee form. This will also be a plus point for Carlotta since she can somehow deal damage without getting too close to her enemies and will least likely get hurt. In addition, Carlotta's rotation is quite simple, though this can be different for some players, but my rotation personally will start by using her heavy attack, resonance skill, let the other members to start up their abilities, go back to Carlotta using intro, skill again, activate the forte, and finally activate her consecutive shots through her liberation. As a main carry, she also has a plus point thanks to her skill that can stagnate enemies. Combined with her range style combat, enemy will mostly find a hard time to hurt this Montelli lady. She also doesn't have much competition beside Ling Yang, who is only a standard banner character. Ling Yang offers a decent to high damage, but it's only single target focused. While Carlotta, despite being a DPS that also mostly single target focused, but at least she has some wide range AoE abilities compared to the Lion Boy. Though this video is purely based on my own opinion, I think it is valid when I say Carlotta is the best Glacio DPS as of now, since after 1 year waiting, this attribute is somehow neglected by its own developer. Next, we have Frolova as the best DPS for Havoc. She is a limited Havoc that uses Rectifier as the weapon. What makes her unique is that she is a damage dealer that can be played while being stayed behind, relying on another on-fielder whose abilities can be considered as casting echo skill, so that Frolova's partner, Hecate, can deal burst damage every time the said abilities are unleashed. Unlike most of the carries, she has zero energy cost, so it is easy to do her character building, since she won't be having any energy issues that force you to slip in some energy regen in her substats. Moreover, her being an on-fielder also opens up more diversity to her team comps, as it allows her to be the sub DPS in certain team. For example, you can technically pair her with Galbrina, since Frolova offers heavy attack amplification, which is something that Galbrina can use. There is another evidence why she is capable of becoming a sub DPS. Frolova has many great self buffs that include attack and crit damage boosts, and this does not make her reliant on other teammates buffing her as much as other DPS, which results in a great sub DPS capabilities. In addition, being able to perform some crowd controlling abilities are a plus point to a unit like her. What about other Havoc DPS like Camellia or maybe Havoc Rover? Well, Camellia used to be the queen of AoE, especially when facing endgame content like Whimpering Waste, but there are some limitations that dethrone her from being the best Havoc carry, such as not really effective against single target scenarios, and her mobility mostly restricted, since most of the time she is tied by her own veins and dangling in mid-air. She is capable to unleash a burst damage, but it requires channeling. This can be interrupted easily by enemies. And even Kuro themselves decided to fix this issue through her first RC. As for Havoc Rover, they are actually good. In fact, they could be reliable if you don't have Frolova as your Havoc carry, but it's just that they took much more time as being an on-fielder, and their AoE abilities only located on their bursts. Outside of that, unlike Frolova, Havoc Rover are not good in dealing AoE damage. Now we are into the best aero main DPS, and in my personal opinion, this award belongs to Yuno. Disclaimer once again, this is purely my own opinion only, you can argue about it in the comment section. Yuno is a 5-star limited aero gauntlet user and is a mixture of both support and a DPS. She is capable of unleashing consistent burst damage while also healing her team at the same time. So once you make her a hyper carry, I think it's almost impossible for your team to die. Moreover, Yuno's role alone is not tied to being a DPS, but she could also become the second carry while buffing other characters, especially someone that deals heavy attack damage such as Augusta and even Jian, since her outro provides heavy damage amp. But Yuno's team composition is actually quite varied. She can be paired to support Jian and Augusta, and then she could perform a hyper carry team with Chiakona due to the aero damage bonus that this Bard Lady provides that can benefit Yuno. Not to mention, her performance even becomes better once Lene is released. A character whose outro skill will give the next incoming Resonator a liberation damage amplification, just what Yuno needs to deal burst damage. Most of you might wonder why in this video I stated that she is the best aero DPS, not Jian or even Cartesia. Starting with Jian, sure he can deal a lot of damage, not burst but multiple hits, and he is no doubt excels in AoE scenarios. But through many updates, I think his damage is just can't keep up with the new characters. In addition, he is the type of character that is heavily reliant on liberation. Outside of that, he deals small damage. So a proper cooldown and energy regen management needs to be maintained properly. Otherwise, you will be in an awkward position to play him when his ultimate is not even ready for the second rotation. Furthermore, his role is tied to be only a main DPS, so no flexibility. Same goes for Carte. She is capable of unleashing tons of damage, especially with a proper investment, that is a signature weapon and Chiakona. This makes her less flexible and much more restricted if being compared to Yuno, who can still perform quite good even without using her own gauntlet and having multiple teams to be paired with. So in terms of damage output and efficiency in clearing endgame content, Cartesia could be the strongest if she invested properly. But the weapon and team restriction is what makes her losing some values to Yuno in my opinion. You might not agree with me from the previous section, but if I had to say that Augusta is the best electro DPS in the game, I'm pretty sure that most of you will agree, right? This limited 5-star electro broadblade can deal tons of damage, has multiple sequences of hit, and a burst damage at the end of her rotation. Augusta excels in both single or AoE scenarios, making her a very dependable unit. Augusta also has an ability where she literally stops time while using her special liberation, making the enemy more vulnerable and at the same time leave herself invulnerable as she easily performs her multiple slashes to finish them, and clearing endgame content more easily as the time freezes for about 7 seconds. What's best from Augusta is her flexibility that allows her to perform well with or without her premium teams. She is best when paired with Yuno that can give heavy attack damage amp and even Shorekeeper as the sustain to boost Augusta's crits. But even without Yuno, Augusta is still doing well with only Mortefi to fill in the second slot of her party. So yes, this makes her a very F2P limited character. I'm not even gonna talk about Chalcaro as Augusta's competitor to claim the best electro DPS award, since he basically does nothing, hard to use, and heavily rely on his burst at all the time to deal damage. But at least we can talk about Yao here. Xiang Liao is also capable to do burst damage. Previously, he only relied with Yinlin as his premium support or even Sanhua as the F2P team comms, and can also be paired with Changli to do quick swap playstyles. But not gonna lie, his value increases significantly when Lin is released, a second carry that can boost his liberation damage to even become a better unit. What makes Yao lose to Augusta in my opinion is his unevenly distributed damage. Like Chalcaro, Yao is really dependent on his burst to deal significant damage. Aside of that, his damage is just small. Though Augusta also can only deal burst damage within her second special ultimate, but surprisingly her damage outside of that is contributing much to the team's damage output, especially the damage when she plunges with her Griffin. So at least until the new Electro unit comes, Augusta remains the best Electro DPS. Now this attribute got me confused because with Monofusion, everyone contributes much to the team's damage output, and immediate damage is just on another level. But I think I can finally decide who is the best fusion DPS. Based on my personal reviews on each units, Galberna fits and deserves to be thrown with the best fusion DPS in the game. Let's just be straightforward here because I don't want to make this video a little bit longer. Besides her backloaded burst damage, she at least has access to a lot of team compositions. You can farm her premium team with Chuyuan and Shorekeeper, or if you don't have Chuyuan as her amplifier, she can still work with Monofusion with Lupa and Brand. And then Galberna also fit a dual DPS comms with Prolova, since Prolova's outro can amplify heavy attack damage, which is something that Galberna appreciates beside the eco skill damage amp. What's best is that she still performs well even with F2P teams, like with Mortevi for example, who can also boost her heavy attack damage. This fact is probably can make Amy's fans furious, but I also agree that Amy can deal a ton of damage, and the recent main quest got all of us love her more than just her appearance. But I think Amy can only perform well if she is paired with her premium teams, such as with Linne and Morny. This restriction is somehow making me hesitant to grant her the crown to be the best fusion DPS in the game. Sure, she can also work with mono fusion teams, despite the expected lower damage output if being compared to her premiums. And she also has another fusion burst team that, to me, still feels like a future proof since we are currently missing someone that can consistently apply fusion bursts to make her reach top performance in this kind of team. Even when the missing piece of puzzle comes, I think Amy still does not have her F2P teams, unlike Galbrina, since there is a lot going on her kit despite her capabilities to deal crazy damage. I'm saying this without making the other units feel ugly or mid or chopped, but I think Galbrina is still the best fusion DPS as of now. Now we finally come to the last shiny attribute, Spectro. Who is the best Spectro DPS right now? I might say Luke, because he seemed like he holds a lot of potential starting from his easy gameplay and rotations, F2P teams, and even weapon choices. But since he is not released yet, I think it's not fair to immediately grant him the crown. We could at least wait until 2 weeks after his banner was released. Since Luke is out of the nomination, I guess Zani is still the best. Zani is negative status DPS that can use Frazzle to deal tons of damage and can be easy to play with, if she is paired with the proper support, that is Phoebe. With Phoebe that can consistently apply Frazzle, Zani can continuously consume them and convert them into Ember to maximize her own personal damage. What makes her one of the best units is that she has a lot of swap cancel windows during her ultimate stance, making it possible to run an F2P team with Spectral Rover as her second slot, though it may quite difficult for some players. She deals multiple instances of damage which help her to give consistent output as well. Since there are only 2 DPS options left, Jinshi and Phoebe Absolution mode, I think it's clear why Zani holds the most power. Jinshi was a great unit by the time she was released, great animations, great lore, even her performance was boosted when Zeji was coming at the first time. But the main problem from our first Sentinel Resonator in the game is that all of her damage output relies on a single instance, or should I say nuke damage, which can be good if it resulted in crit hits, but most of the time, it's not. That's why she sometimes deals inconsistent damage as we battling not only with enemies, but with her critical chance as well. As for Phoebe DPS mode, she was really fine and doing really well at that time, it's just that she also needs someone that can apply Frazzle consistently, and that person is Spectral Rover, and can even rely on Chakona's ultimate. But as time went by, I think it's already hard to beat the endgame without her chill endgame buffs. But thankfully she still holds of great value not as a Spectre DPS that you can always rely on, but as a support for another Frazzle DPS, which is in this case is Zani, or potentially any other new unit in the future. So with Luke Herson still missing and we don't know his overall performance, at least until several weeks after his release, Zani is still the best Spectre DPS in my opinion. So that's all from today's video about the best DPS characters for every attribute. Another disclaimer though, this video is based on my personal opinion. So feel free to disagree and write down your best DPS version in the comment section. I hope you enjoy this content. If you feel that way, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on notification as well so you won't missing out on any of my future content. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye bye!